Hello, everyone. I'm Gail Tilstra, and I will be your facilitator today for the time management workshop being offered by Dress for Success. Just to give you a little background of who and what I am, I've been a human resources executive for a number of years now, but I was also very involved in training and development, and I've created a lot of programs over the years, but most specifically for the past 2 years with Dress for Success, I've been honored to share some different types of programs with them, and this is one of my favorite. So I think we all can get better at time management skills, that's for sure. I don't profess to be an expert, but I'd like to share with all of you today some of the tips and things I've used over the years, and tips and things that I've shared with other people as well. So let's get started. Finding enough time is a challenge for many of us. There is never enough time to get everything done, especially when you're wearing a lot of hats and taking on a lot of different roles. Not only is it frustrating, but it can be stressful to feel like you're bouncing from task to task and never really crossing everything off your to-do list. Do you feel the need to be more organized and or more productive? Do you spend your day in a frenzy of activity and then wonder why you haven't accomplished much? Many of us prey to time wasters that steal time we could be using more productively. So what are your time bandits? Do you spend too much time internet surfing, reading email, Facebook posting, texting, or making personal phone calls? In a survey by salary.com, 89% of respondents admitted to wasting time every day. And the results were really astounding to me. Let me share a few of them with you. 31% said they waste about 30 minutes a day. Another 30 minutes said they admitted to 1 hour. There were 16% that said they actually waste roughly 2 hours a day. And then there were 2% that actually admitted to wasting 4 to 5 hours per day. So why should we get good at time management? Good time management is essential to success, and it's not limited to success in the workplace. Success as a friend, as a parent, a spouse, success for your home, your health, your fitness routine. There is so much that requires good time management skills. You can develop a method to manage your time by setting goals, planning activities, prioritizing, and trusting others, which is delegation. And we're going to talk about that today, to help you complete tasks. If you can do this, you can increase the amount of time you have during the day. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to maybe have a little quiz with all of you. There are 15 questions I'm going to ask, and here are the possible answers. You can answer not at all, rarely, sometimes, often, or very often. But what I also want you to do is number those responses. So not at all would equal 1, rarely would equal 2, sometimes 3, often 4, and very often 5. Okay, are we set to go? So let's start with the first question. The tasks I work on are the ones with the highest priority. Not at all, rarely, sometimes, often, or very often. I find myself completing tasks at the last minute or asking for extensions. Number 3, I set aside time for planning and scheduling. Not at all, rarely, sometimes, often, or very often. Number 4, I know how much time I spend on each of the various tasks I do. Number 5, I find myself dealing with interruptions. Number 6, I use goal setting to decide what tasks and activities I should work on. Not at all, rarely, sometimes, often, very often. Number 7, I leave contingency time in my schedule to deal with the unexpected. 8, I know whether the tasks I am working on are high, medium, or low value. Number 9, when I am given a new assignment, I analyze it for importance and prioritize it accordingly. Number 10, I'm stressed about deadlines and commitments. Do you find that? Not at all, rarely, sometimes, often, very often. 11, distractions keep me from working on critical tasks. Number 12, I have to take work home in order to get it done. Number 13, I prioritize my to-do list or action program. 14, I confirm my priorities with my boss. And 15, our last question, before I take on a task, I check that the results will be worth the time put in. So now just take a few minutes and add up your scores. How many ones did you have? Twos, threes, fours, and fives. And then what I'll do is I'm going to interpret your scores. Okay, so if you scored between 15 to 30, the good news is you've got a great opportunity to improve your effectiveness at work and your long-term success. However, to realize this, you've got to fundamentally improve your time management skills. If you scored between 31, well, you're good at some things, but there's room for improvement elsewhere. We're going to focus on the serious issues below that we're going to discuss today, and you'll most likely find that work becomes less stressful. And if you scored between 46 and 75, you're managing your time very effectively. Still, let's see if there's anything you can tweak to make this even better. All right, so let's get started. Let's start with a time management definition. Here's how we define good time management. Time management is about more than just managing our time. It's about managing ourselves in relation to time. It's about setting priorities and taking charge. It means changing habits or activities that cause us to waste time. It means being willing to experiment with different methods and ideas to enable you to find the best way to make the maximum use of your time. Time management is something we have to become intentional at. And I'm going to repeat that. Time management is something we have to become intentional at. So what I want to do is I have a few tips that I'd like to share with all of you, and maybe you'll find one or two or all of them will work for you in your day-to-day activities, both in business and in your personal life. The 80-20 rule. The 80-20 rule, also known as Pareto's principle, which I think many of us are familiar with, states that 80% of your results come from only 20% of your actions. How does this apply to time management? If you have a list of 10 items to do, 2 of those items will turn out to be worth as much or more than the other 8 items put together. Across the board, you will find that the 80-20 principle is pretty much right on with most things in your life. For most people, it really comes down to analyzing what you are spending your time on. This concept is encouraging you to focus more on the things that matter most, primarily the tasks that help us reach our goals. Are you focusing in on the 20% of activities that produce 80% of the results in your life? So that's the 80-20 rule. Excuse me. Then there's something known as chunk, block, and tackle. I think many of us are familiar with this. Large projects can sometimes be so overwhelming, it is difficult to even plan to start them. This time management technique is ideal for taking on these jobs. Simply break down the project into manageable chunks, block off time to work on the project, and then tackle it with a single-minded focus. So first, you're going to break large projects into specific tasks that can be completed in less than 15 minutes. That's your chunks. Block, rather than scheduling the entire project all at once, block out set times to complete specific chunks as early in the day as possible, or when it's best for you. This should allow you to ignore most interruptions and focus on just this task. And finally, tackle it. Tackle those tasks, focusing only on this task rather than any other project. Once completed, you will feel a sense of accomplishment from making progress on the project. The most simplest way I can explain this to you is, let's say you want to clean out your pantry and there are 5 shelves. So instead of spending a whole day cleaning out that pantry, take a day to clean off each shelf. That is chunk, block, and tackle. Then there's what's called the 1-3-5 rule. The 1-3-5 rule is a simple strategy to manage your task. Each day, you dedicate your work to 1 big thing, 3 medium things, and 5 little things. That way, it's easier to accomplish your goals. You're not able to always work on these bigger tasks at one time, and you only can do so much, and there are limits to what you can accomplish. And finally, I guess one of my most favorite is what's called eat the frog. You know, Mark Twain said, if it's your job to eat a frog, it's best to do it first thing in the morning. And if it's your job to eat two frogs, well, it's best to eat the biggest frog first. I'm really just teasing all of you, but truthfully, it's all about prioritizing. Do the most important tasks first. And when you're done, switch to those that are less pertinent. It will help you better organize the workflow and you will become more efficient. It's as simple as that. So that's called, of course, as we all know, prioritizing our task. It's also important to know when you're most productive. We all have a time slot when we're most alert, most focused, and energetic. Some of us are ready to get going the first thing in the morning, while others find themselves more productive at night. For me, I'm a morning person. So knowing this, I have always tended to schedule my big priorities during my prime time, not when I'm running out of steam later in the afternoon. It's a proven way to get as much done as possible on a daily basis. So then let's just take a few minutes to talk about eating the frog or procrastination. Your ability to select your most important task at any given moment and then to start on that task and get it done both quickly and well will probably have the greatest impact on your success than any other quality or skill you can develop. If you nurture the habit of setting clear priorities and getting important tasks completely finished, the majority of your time management issues should fade away, right? That's why it's so important to overcome procrastination. Here are some ways to get moving on those tough tasks. Number one, you can delete it. What are the consequences of not doing the task at all? Consider the 80-20 rule. Maybe it doesn't need to be done in the first place. How about delegating? And again, we've talked about this a few minutes ago, and we're going to continue to talk about it. If the task is important, ask yourself if it's really something that you are responsible for doing in the first place. Know your job description and ask if the task is part of your responsibilities. Can the task be given to someone else? And do it now. Postponing an important task that needs to be done only creates feelings of anxiety and stress. Do it as early in the day as possible. Consider asking for advice. Asking for help from a trusted mentor, supervisor, coach, or expert can give you some great insight on where to start and the steps for completing a project. Obey the 15-minute rule. We've talked about this overall in the past few moments. To reduce the temptation of procrastination, each actionable step on a project should take no more than 15 minutes to complete. Now, I know you might say, Gail, that seems unreasonable. But again, it's going to depend upon the task and the size of the project. But I always try to recommend to others to do certain parts of it as quickly as possible in manageable time. And have clear deadlines. Assign yourself a deadline for projects and milestones and write it down in your day planner or calendar. Make your deadlines known to other people who will hold you accountable. I will say this is one item I do on a regular basis. When I create my to-do list, I always set a deadline because I know that I need to have it done by next Friday or the following day. And it's funny, during my work life, whenever I had a project I had to work on, I made sure that all my associates were aware of what I was working on and my time frame. So throughout the weeks that as I was working on something, they would kind of say, Gail, you're going to meet that deadline. Don't forget, you've got to get it done by April 30th. So actually creating deadlines is really an efficient way to help you get things done. And give yourself a reward. Celebrate the completion of project milestones and reward yourself for getting projects done on time. It could be a simple cup of coffee or your favorite chai tea, or maybe a small piece of jewelry or a candy bar that you don't always want to eat. But if you do something and you're happy that you got it done, consider giving yourself a reward. All right. Now what I'd like to do is sort of start to look at how we can manage our time within our office and in our work time. And I'd like to start with organizing your workspace. In order to effectively manage your time and to be productive each day, you must create an appropriate environment. By eliminating clutter, setting up effective filing systems, gathering essential tools, and managing workflow, you will be well on your way to creating an effective workspace. I think all of us realize that if we've got clutter all around us or on our desk and we're having a hard time finding things, it's not efficient and it's not good time management skills. I'll share a funny story with all of you. I worked with a woman who was head of our accounting division, and she was a brilliant woman, but a very unorganized woman. And you never ever wanted to put anything on her desk, you know, a report or whatever, because you knew it was going to be lost. So I personally got into the habit of actually putting things that I had to give her on her chair, so that when she walked in, she'd find it on her chair. And sure enough, one day she called and asked for a report, and she was a paper person. So I said, okay, I'll bring it up as soon as I can. And as always, I placed it on her chair. Well, later that day, when she got back into her office, she sat down and she started to ask her associates that sat outside her office, did anybody see Gail? Did Gail drop off that report? And of course, somebody said, Julie, you're sitting on it, all right? So over the years, I had to work with her to try to get her a little bit more organized. But it is important to have a very organized workspace, that's for sure. Declutter. Removing clutter is in itself a time-consuming task, but a cluttered workspace significantly impairs your ability to find things, just like I talked about the accounting officer, and you will get the time back that you invest and more. To retrieve materials quickly, you'll need an effective filing system that includes 3 basic kinds of files. Now, I'm going to talk about paper files, but I'll also share a story with you that maybe some of my information about this could be a little outdated. I believe in creating file folders, okay, for your office space, or even if you're working from home. Your working files are the materials that you use frequently and need close at hand. Your reference files, they're information items that you will call upon occasionally. And then there's archival files. Those are materials seldom really retrieved, but it's important that you keep them, all right? And I kind of always set my folders up that I had my working files in the front, reference files, and the archival files either in the back or in another location, because I wasn't calling upon them on a regular basis. But I've always been a believer in creating that type of workspace, all right? Once clutter has been eliminated and other materials have been filed, you'll find that you have an effective workspace, okay, for the things that you need, your computer, or your standard office supplies, a telephone, whatever it might be. Now, I will share with you, as I said a few moments ago, that sometimes my file folder system can be a little outdated. Most recently, my daughter was transferred over to New York City and is now working in, she's got a beautiful office environment and right across from Bryant Park. And she actually called me and she wanted me to see her office. So as she's taking her phone and kind of zooming around her office, all I saw was just a large work table and a few chairs and her laptop. So I said to her, Lauren, I go, where are your file drawers for all your files? And I said, Lauren, where's your credenza? You have to store things, right? And she smiled and she lifted up her laptop and she goes, Mom, here are my files. So I guess in some ways I'm a little outdated when it comes to that, but everybody has to work in a way that's efficient for them and of course what is required in their work environment. And we are going to talk a little bit about files in just a moment, computer files. So how do you process the amount of material that collects in your paper and electronic inbox? The answer is one piece of paper, one electronic message at a time. Many time management experts agree that the most effective people act on an item the first time it's touched. I think we've all heard this. Pick up an item and work on it. All right, don't put it aside because it's going to be there later. One piece of paper, one file at a time. Although difficult at first, the practice can become habitual and made easier with the 4 Ds. And these are the 4 Ds. Do, if a task can be completed in 2 minutes or less, do it immediately. Delete, if the material is trash or junk, or if it's something that might use later on, file it or move on. Defer, if the task is one that can be completed quickly and it is not a high priority item, then simply defer it. And finally, delegate. There's that D word again. If a task is not yours to do, then delegate it. Remember to take the sting out of feeling overwhelmed about a task. Follow these steps. Select one task to do at a time. Time yourself using a clock for no more than 1 hour. And I know that may sound silly, but it really is an effective time management tool. Ignore everything else during that time. No breaks or interruptions should be permitted, and give yourself a reward. So that's STING. Select time, ignore, no breaks, and give yourself a reward. Right. Now, since I shared with you the story about my daughter and her electronic files, let's talk a little bit about dealing with email. Electronic communication can be managed just as easily and quickly as paper with the 4 Ds that we just discussed. However, there are some other key ideas that will help you maximize your email time. Like other routine tasks, such as returning phone calls, handling paper mail, and checking voicemail, email is best handled in batches at regularly scheduled times of the day. Ask your email contacts to use specific subject lines and make sure you use them as well. This will help you to determine whether your incoming mail is business or personal, urgent, or trivial, right? And this is a practice I think a lot of organizations are using now, so that recipients of email know whether or not I have to work on this now, I can look at it later. And I always recommend that, like just like I said a moment ago, you do the same. If you're looking for a response from someone, then you've got to let them know that you need a response, or you need to say that it's urgent. Once you know the subject of the message, open and read urgent emails and respond accordingly. Non-urgent emails can be read later. Delete advertising related email that you have no interest in, or if you consider it to be spam. Use your email system to its fullest potential. Create folders for different topics or projects, or by senders. Most email systems allow you to create folders and add keywords or categories to messages, which makes information retrieval much easier. And I will say that even though I talked about my paper folders before, I have in the past year or so been creating those type of folders for my email, things that I know I want to keep, and I'm not going to print and put in a folder, but I've actually created files within my email system. And yes, it is a lot easier to retrieve at a moment's notice. And finally, don't forget to delete email from your trash can and junk folder on a regular basis. You know, some organizations actually require that, like every so many days, you've got to go in and you've got to delete all that's in your trash can or your deleted system. All right. All right, so let's move on. What I want to do is just share with you some time management strategies. And again, some of these may work for some of you, and you'll find others that won't, or some that will. If you need help keeping yourself on task, here are 5 time management strategies that will keep you motivated to help you stick to your plan. Set artificial deadlines to create space and structure. So for example, do you need to be somewhere at 3 o'clock? Aim for 2:45. Do you need to get through your emails? Set a deadline to empty your email box by Friday noon. Or in some cases, you might even say, okay, every day from 4:30 to 4:45 or 4:45 to 5, I'm going to work on my email and take care of it. Again, not the urgent ones, but the ones that you set aside for later. Sales report taking too long to complete, then what you want to do is set a timer to finish the section. You know, many of us have iWatches on and there's timers on there. And I have found this to be a very effective way to get something done. It keeps me on track by setting a timer for what I'm working on. Number 2, pick your 3 top activities for each day. You can either choose the night before or the morning of. Make yourself a list and reevaluate in the morning. Either do it at night and look at it in the morning, or do it in the morning and bring it to work and check it there. But whatever the case, start your day by being clear on your priorities. Again, I'm a big to-do list person, because it's important that I know what I want to focus on that day. If you walk in your office or you're going to your home office and you're not really sure what you're working on, you're going to wind up being not unfocused. And again, you're going to wind up not getting things done that you want to. Do similar little tasks together. Now, I know we talked a little bit, and we're going to talk a little bit about multitasking in a minute, but batch tasks, little things, the 2 to 5 minute tasks. For example, if you're at work and you're going to put files away, and if you have to walk by the mailroom as you're putting those files away, pick up the mail, drop off the mail, and then put the files away. Or when you're at home, can you tack a few things on for 2 minutes or less? Let's say wipe your bathroom sink when you finish getting ready in the morning, or as you're walking out the door, can you drop off the trash in the can as you go to your car? Those are what's called doing, again, which we talked about before, batch tasking, or doing little things together. Being assertive. And let me share with you what I mean by that. At times, requests from others may be important and need immediate attention. Often these requests take away from your own time that you're working. Even if it is something we would like to do, but simply don't have the time for it, it can be very difficult to say no. I'm going to teach you what's called the positive no, right? And this comes in several forms, but there is something called the positive no. Say no, and then briefly clarify your reasoning without making excuses. This helps the listener to get a better understanding of your position. So for example, you could say something like, I can't right now because I have another project that is due by 5 p.m. today, right? You can say no and they give an alternative. So for example, I don't have time today, but I could schedule it for tomorrow morning. Or you can say yes, but you can give your reasoning for not doing it and then provide an alternative solution. So for example, say something like, yes, I would love to help you by helping you file this work, but I don't have time right now. Can we do it together tomorrow? So again, that's what's called a positive no. And then you can learn to delegate and outsource, all right? And delegation is hard, it really is. And let me start with a confession, because I'm not a natural delegator. I chalk it up to too many bad experiences with group project in school, but I find it really hard to trust someone to handle work that's important to me. Still, the time comes when even the most reluctant of us have to ask for help. Trying to handle everything on our own, let me tell you, is an invitation to burnout. Delegating, when done effectively, increases overall productivity by tapping the full potential of your team members. And I will tell you, in a leadership program that I'm doing now, and I'm working with young managers that are working to become leaders, we talk a lot about delegation and how important it is to grow your team, to grow your people. I'm going to give you some examples in a moment. The willingness to delegate almost demonstrates trust among team members and definitely improves morale. Delegation is one of the hardest things to learn how to do for many workers, but no matter how small your business, there's no need for you to be a one-person show. You need to let other people carry some of the load. And again, you're all saying, I know you're all shaking your head up and down. It's not always easy to delegate. However, if you plan your activities, stick to your plan, and find the right people to delegate tasks to, guess what? You'll suddenly have more time. I know you don't want to come across, I'm sorry, let me backtrack for a moment. Some of you may be thinking that you may not have the authority to delegate tasks to other members of your department. My advice to all of you is to talk to your supervisor and see how he or she feels about you asking others for help. I know you don't want to come across as if you're not able to handle all of your responsibilities, but if you take the approach that it could be a training opportunity, or the fact that other people knowing other people's jobs will be a great way for coverage within your department, I believe this is something your supervisor may be open to. And when you're able to delegate, I'm going to share this with all of you, you have to be prepared to compromise. So what do I mean by that? As we all know, we have different work styles. And when we delegate, we have to be willing to let the person who's helping us do it their way, right? As long as the difference in approach doesn't affect the quality of the final product or services, let it go. Also, we can't let our vision for a project stop us from being open to different visions. That's one of the other really best parts of delegation as well. If you can share with other people, you'll learn from those people. They may have a different approach. And again, I know, like I said a minute ago, it's important to make sure you get your manager or supervisor to buy in if you're not in a role where you can automatically delegate. But I will share with you, it is an effective way to really develop everyone that is in your work environment. After all, any new idea or approach that might be an improvement on our own is really important, not only to their success, but to our success as well. Now, multitasking, we talked about this just a few minutes ago as well. They say multitasking only feels more productive. Some studies indicate that it does more damage than good. According to an article in Forbes, it kills performance. And you're thinking, how can that be? But multitasking may seem like a great way to get a lot of work done at once, but research has shown that our brains are not nearly as good at handling multiple tasks as we would like to think they are. In fact, some research suggests that multitasking can really hamper your productivity. What is it that makes multitasking such a productivity killer? It might seem like you're accomplishing multiple things at the same time, but what you are really doing is shifting your attention and focus from one thing to the next. So here, let's try an exercise. If you have a paper and pencil, this is what I'd like you to do. I want you to write down the word multitasking, but as you do it, underneath each letter, write a number. So you would write M and then number 1, U and then number 2, L and number 3. So again, for each letter in the word multitasking, you write down the number below it. I'm going to give you a few minutes to do that. Okay. Now what I'd like you to do is write down the word multitasking first, and then when you're done, write the numbers below it. Okay, so if you're done, let's discuss exactly what happened. When you had to write the letter and the number, did you find that it took more time because you were concentrating on writing the M and then the 1 and then the U and then the 2? But when I asked you to just write the word multitasking, you just wrote it down very quickly. And then I asked you to write down the corresponding numbers, and you did. Did you find that the second exercise went faster than the first? That's what multitasking is all about, and why experts believe it is not the best form of productivity. Many people believe multitasking is a sufficient way of managing the workload. And I'm going to say this again, it's a myth. When we focus on too many tasks at once, our brains get overloaded and our work suffers. Only focus on one task at a time. The quality of our work will improve, we feel less stressed, and guess what? More in control. All right. So now what I'd like to share with all of you are some time management tips, right? And I think the reasons why time management is so important. I always like to focus on the benefits of what we're talking about in our programs. Everyone's time is valuable, whether they assign a dollar value to it or not, but poor time management skills can cause lack of sleep, unhappiness, health complications, and stress. Just the thought of having too little time to complete work is enough to make most people feel stressed. Think about our mornings and how we're trying to get ready, right? To get out the door, get into our home office, and we're making lunch for our children, and we're worrying about this and that. Very, very stressful environment. While there are many ways of improving time management, such as writing a schedule, prioritizing, downloading productivity apps, if you don't fully understand why time management is important, you may not have the motivation to change. And that's really what this program is all about for all of you today. That's why you need to look at the big picture. Why is time management so important, right? We keep asking ourselves, why is it so important? So here are some reasons. Number 1, it improves your self-discipline. Let's face it, if you have good time management skills, the chances are that you're highly self-disciplined. You're the kind of person who stops procrastination dead in its tracks and drives forward to achieve your goals. This self-discipline improves other areas of your life as well, from your career to your relationships. So in other words, the better you get at time management, the better self-discipline will be. It improves the quality of your work. No doubt it does. Having good time management skills doesn't mean that you pull all-nighters to meet a deadline. It means that you manage your time effectively and space out your work. According to research, almost half of Americans regularly get insufficient or low quality sleep and report that this interferes with their daily lives. I don't think there's a news feed that you don't pick up today that there isn't an article about poor sleep habits and how it's affecting millions of Americans today. You need a good night's sleep if you want to produce quality work. Good time management skills will help you get the rest you need. Number 3, winding down is essential. Between work, family commitments, running errands, most of us don't even get enough time to relax, even 5 minutes before we're ready to go to bed. If you want to have enough time to unwind, relax, prepare for the following day, good time management skills are absolutely essential. And good time management skills reduce stress, without a doubt. I think we all know that. Take a few minutes to reflect on your day. Do you feel as though you're always busy but accomplish little? Is there something that's been keeping you up at night with worry? Are you unable to complete your work? If you've answered yes to even one of those questions, you're likely feeling stressed. When you don't feel as though you have control of your time and are always frantically working to meet deadlines, it's highly likely that your health is suffering. Time management skills can help to reduce or even eliminate stress. Good time management skills will make you more productive, helping you to meet your deadlines and lowering your stress levels. Also, good time management skills opens up new possibilities. One of the hidden dangers of poor time management is that it kills your chances of broadening your horizons and trying out new things. If you go through life rushing from one task to the next, you never have the chance to explore different opportunities. With more free time, you may be able to volunteer at a local charity or help someone in need. It's hard to put a dollar value on these types of tasks that we all know are very, very enriching in our lives, right? Time management skills also helps with your personal relationships. Good time management skills are essential to having strong and productive relationships. The more free time you have to spend with your friends and family, the better your relationships will be. You'll make better decisions, have better ideas, and people around you will notice. Stronger personal relationships will enhance all aspects of your life. And we all, especially we really understand that in the past 2 years when we haven't had the chance to really build those relationships or continue with those relationships. But good time management skills will definitely enhance your personal relationships. And it'll improve your career. Rather than going with the flow, having good time management skills let you control your life and take the lead at work. Being able to submit high quality work on time is a valuable skill in any organization. If you understand the importance of time management and apply it successfully, you can surely improve your career. Time management skills also help enhance your decision-making ability. Time management skills help you avoid stress, right? We've been talking about that a lot. This has a powerful effect on the quality of your decisions and in turn affects almost every aspect of your life, from your career progression to your relationships, right? So if you're not stressed or you're not in a hurry to make decisions, what happens? You make good, strong, solid decisions. Through effective time management, you can avoid making those poor decisions that you make when you're feeling stressed, tired, or pressured. You can also accomplish more, okay? Being in control of your time is great for your productivity. You'll find that you get far more done in less time when you aren't rushing through things. You'll be focused and more efficient, and you'll breeze through your workday, and time will fly by. And it stops you from missing opportunities. And what do I mean when I say this? Poor time management skills will destroy your productivity, and this in turn will cause you to miss opportunities. If you want to rise through the ranks, Good time management skills will help you manage your time and will help you to capitalize on more positive opportunities. You know, going through the reasons why time management is important, it's easy to see that you create a positive cycle when you start to improve your time management skills. You'll perform better at work, get more opportunities, have more free time, and you know what? You'll feel generally happier. Good time management skills dramatically improve all aspects of your life. All you have to do is get started. Time is one of the most valuable commodities that you have. Living out your priorities and achieving your goals requires being intentional, there's that word again, and disciplined. You know, Peter Drucker once said, until we can manage time, we can manage nothing else. And there was a Chinese philosopher, Lane Ho, who said, if you lose money, you get a chance to make it back, but a wasted hour is irreplaceable. So before we close, let me just share some final time management tips. You know, maybe you already know some of this and just haven't taken the steps to get more productive. You may wonder, why is it so hard for me to be productive? Perhaps you don't feel like you have the time to manage your time. You think working faster in your current pattern will pay off. We know that's not the case. Remember, being busy doesn't mean you're being productive. In fact, busyness is a true barrier to, is a barrier to true productivity. Let me say that again. Busyness is a barrier to true productivity. Making time for time management is like using a wish to ask for more wishes. It pays off in spades. Just like learning how to organize your workspace, the upfront load of work, right? Filtering, prioritizing, discarding, creating those files, whether they're paper or on your laptop, will make your life easier and more productive for years to come. And here's the most important time management tip of all. You can be in control and accomplish what you want to accomplish once you come to grips with the time management myth and take control of your life. Because you know what? Your time belongs to you. So I want to thank you today for this opportunity to share time management tips with all of you. And I want to wish you well in your time management journey and have a really good day.